Bryan Mbeumo could be the most important signing we make since Bruno Fernandes, and if he does join, I think he could potentially end his career as a Manchester United legend. Here's why. Reports from the likes of Fabrizio Romano over the last 24 hours have seen Bryan Mbeumo be linked with Manchester United, and I for one couldn't be happier. Apparently personal terms won't be an issue, however he does favour Champions League football, and I for one can't blame him. I mean, this is a player that I think is on the cusp of hitting world-class talent, and he deserves to be playing on the biggest stages. And unfortunately, it also seems that sales will need to be made before this move can happen for United, meaning the likes of Rashford or Garnacho have to be out of the door before we can seriously consider this move, which means that whilst we are in this race, we are kind of starting one lap behind everybody else. Because I believe the likes of Newcastle are interested, and they can offer Champions League football for one, and also a front three of Gordon, Isak and Mbeumo is just filthy. So I would get why he wouldn't want to join us. We've just got to hope that We Are Man United pull is enough for this one. And why do I say that? Why do I want Bryan Mbeumo so badly? Why do I think that this guy has the potential to be a legend for us? Well, for a start, last season, he got 20 goal contributions. He was first in the expected assists category, and he was also second for ground covered, which is, I think, something important to take a look at, because I think a lot of people have built this idea in their head that Mbeumo is this lazy luxury player for some reason. He's not a hard worker. I do not understand where that notion comes from. There's also this notion that he's kind of like, I don't know, one season wonder type thing, which is insane because he has been Brentford's best player now for quite some time. He got 16 goal involvements last season and then 17 the season before that. I mean, he's been so good for them that I don't really think anyone has noticed that Ivan Toney's left. In fact, I think the reason people think Mbeumo is this like flash in the pan one season wonder type thing is because I think they've just put Brentford's past success recently on Toney when clearly that wasn't the case. Brentford were fine getting rid of Toney. They've waited till now to get rid of Mbeumo. And so I think the ability to perform season after season at a good level is the exact kind of thing that Manchester United are after this summer. We've already seen that with the likes of Cunha being signed. And Mbeumo, I think, fits that bill perfectly. However, and this is something I found really interesting, what use are these goals and assists from Mbeumo actually? What are they worth? And what do I mean by that? Well, whilst all goals are good, you should never begrudge a player for scoring. Some goals and assists hold more weight to them. And so that's what I've been researching. And I tell you, it is insane what I'm about to tell you. So how do I figure out this metric? How do I figure out whether or not a player truly is a born and bred match winner? Because that's exactly what we've been missing lately. Outside of Bruno and possibly Ahmad, who is a match winner in this Man United squad? Tell me. Casemiro maybe, but if we're relying on set pieces and headers from our number 8/6, then maybe we truly are relegation fodder. And so let me explain my calculations here, what I've been doing. So basically, I went through and had a look at every goal and every assist in the Premier League from Bryan Mbeumo and other players to see how many points that goal contribution would be worth when that goal went in. So what I mean here is that if a player scored to make it 1-0, that goal theoretically at that moment in time was worth 3 points. But if they score the fourth in a 4-0 win, then that's not contributed any points to their team. They were going to get 3 points anyway. It's far easier to score then. I count that as 0 points. We don't want stat padders. Same with an assist. If a player assists the goal to get their team back level, or scores a goal to get their team back level, that at that time was worth 1 point. Now, they could go on and still lose that game. Understandable. However, that player has contributed massively in that situation. And so that's what I've gone and had a look through. Are these players that we're being linked to scoring luxury goals? Like I said, the third or second or fourth and a thrashing, or are they clutch? Are they the ones putting their team in winning positions? Let's find out. So Bruno Fernandes, like I said, is probably our number one match winner. When he's on the pitch, you think something can happen. So in the league this season, in 14 games, out of the 14 games in which he got some kind of goal contribution, they were worth 29 points. Now, like I said, I'm not saying that he straight up got us 29 points. Some of those goals he scored or assisted in, we would have gone on to lose or draw. But at the time that he made that goal contribution, he would have got us 29 points. Matheus Cunha, in the 15 games that he got a goal contribution, he would have earned Wolves 22 points. Now, something that I do want to mention about Cunha whilst doing my research here that I found really interesting was the fact that a lot of his goals were to bring his team back level. And so that's why he's a bit below Bruno, because a lot of his goals were to earn a point at the time they went in. But that alone is also a good trait to have. It shows that Cunha has the clutch gene. But what about Delap? I wanted to compare him to Højlund last season because obviously a lot of people say that Delap is just Rasmus Højlund again. Well, Højlund last season, in the 9 games in which he got goal contributions, they were worth 21 points. Now, one thing that's worth noting with Højlund is that the vast majority of those goal contributions came in the space of about a month. Either side of that little good run of form that he had, he only won us a few points. Delap, however, in the 11 games, would have earned Ipswich 27 points. It's not a huge difference above Rasmus. That being said, he has shown to be far more consistent than Rasmus was. His goals and assists have come from throughout the entire season, not just one little good patch. Also, he's playing for a much worse team than what Rasmus was last year. But that's all great, right? The players that we've talked about, they all average about 25 points for their team. Cool. Let's talk about Bryan Mbeumo. This is why he is a match winner. In the 20 games in which he got a goal contribution, in total, it was worth 46 points. Now, to put that into perspective, like I said, that doesn't straight up mean that he won 46 of Brentford's 56 total points, because that would be ludicrous. It's just that when that goal went in, that's what it was worth. However, those 46 points that he alone would have contributed to is more than Manchester United's entire team last season. We only managed, 42 points? And then Mbeumo's out here almost helping his team get more than that himself. And then just for one final comparison, because I get the argument that Brentford, he's playing in a way better team than any of the other ones I mentioned, Wolves, Ipswich, us. So I just wanted to compare him to someone like Salah as well, because you don't get better than the best player in the team that won the league. And he got in 28 games, 64 points. So it's obviously a lot more than Mbeumo, but it's also in 8 more games. And considering the fact that Mbeumo is a tactical fit to this system that Amorim is building, and also the fact that his goals per 90 stat is steadily increasing season on season, you would expect that Mbeumo would continue being a match winner for Manchester United in what should next season be a better team than Brentford. It's a no-brainer for 50 million. I promise you, if we used the money from Garnacho to go out and get Bryan Mbeumo, you would forget Garnacho existed. But this brings me on to how Mbeumo would actually play in this system, because I know a lot of people say, I saw on TalkSport, I don't know, you shouldn't expect a highbrow conversation on TalkSport, but it is what it is. I saw them and others saying, oh, but he's a right winger. We don't play with wingers. How is he going to play in the right 10? Well, newsflash, if you watch him, a lot of his goals, a lot of his contributions come from that right 10 half space. It's not going to be like we're asking him to learn an entire fucking new language here. He plays much more like a right 10 than a traditional right winger at Brentford. If you look at someone like Ahmad, I know a lot of people want Ahmad in that right 10 rather than right wing back, but Ahmad is a touchline winger. That's where he's best, running down the wing, taking on a man, and going down the byline. That's not Mbeumo. Yes, Mbeumo might play out wide, but he drifts inside so much. Like I said, that's where so much of his goal contributions come from. It wouldn't be that difficult for him to adapt to Amorim's system. But then that brings me on to the other thing people always say, oh, what if we sack Amorim and we've got all these players that are suited for Amorim's system and the next manager can't use? This is another thing about Man United's transfer policy I have noticed since Amorim's come in. Yes, we are buying players for Amorim's system, but they are not exclusively usable in Amorim's system. For example, Dorgu. We needed a left wing back. Dorgu can play left wing back, but he can also play left back. That means if in 6 months' time we do sack Amorim and we went on and got a different manager and they wanted to play 4-3-3, we could still do that. Dorgu would just be left back. Cunha would just be the Bruno replacement long term at number 10. Mbeumo would just be the right winger. These are all positionally fluid players that we're signing. Now, Mbeumo's also a pressing demon, especially alongside Ahmad, would help us win the ball back higher up the pitch and just be better going forward in every aspect of the game. Also, he does have experience as a right wing back. Now, I'm not saying to start him as a right wing back. However, it would be interesting to see how him and Ahmad would play together. You could possibly see them interchanging. And so whilst I'm over the moon with the signing of Cunha, because as he himself said, he's a protagonist, which this team needs, I don't think we could make a better bit of business all summer than Bryan Mbeumo for 50 million. That is, and I know this might sound crazy to some people because a lot of people doubt him, a steal. Now, when he inevitably goes to Newcastle, you can all come back to this video and laugh. Fair enough. I get it. I'm jealous if that's the case. But if come the end of that transfer window and Mbeumo is wearing red, oh boy, is it time to get excited. That's a promise.